Hello, my name is Nadia and I'm a member of the marketing team at Oaklands College. Thank you for joining our webinar today to find out about the college and the opportunities available to you. Last week we should have held our open days, but due to the current circumstances, obviously this wasn't possible. However, we wanted to offer you the next best thing, which is the webinar today, giving you the chance to see some of our facilities, find out more about the courses, meet some of our tutors, and to hear about college life. With us today, we have our Head of Department, Gary Morgan, together with A-level tutors and student support who are available to answer your questions. If you do have any questions, please use the chat functionality.
I have a question.
Team will answer. We can also take questions after the webinar. Can I ask that everyone's video cameras are turned off and audio set to mute for the duration of the webinar? We don't want to keep you too long and are aiming to run for around 30 minutes. We'll also record this session and post the link on our website. Now, we understand these are difficult times for you and want to assure you that Oaklands College are here to support you on the next stage in your education journey. On behalf of the college, I would also like to thank the NHS and key workers for all of their amazing support and work throughout the coronavirus pandemic. So I'm now going to hand you over to Gary to take you through the presentation.
Thanks, Nadia. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming along this afternoon. So, a little bit about Oaklands College. Obviously, everybody knows it's in Hertfordshire, hopefully. It's one of the large colleges in Hertfordshire. It's a very popular college, not just with people in the surrounding area. We have lots of students that come up from London, come across from Bedfordshire, so they'll travel in from Luton. We've got our main campus at St Albans, which is where the A-level provision is, and then there's a further campus in Welwyn Garden City and one down in Boreham Wood, which is aimed at a little bit more community-focused learning, lots of adult-focused courses down there. The college has got a wide range of learning opportunities, full-time, part-time. The thing that the college really prides itself on, and it really is true if you have a look at the prospectus, there is something for everybody. There's levels, courses, all different types of interest. You know, we've got animal care, all it's really well worth having a look at all the other videos as well, just so you can get to see some of the great facilities that you would benefit from. College has got approximately 1,500 full part-time courses running. The idea is to help equip you with the skills, the knowledge, so that you can go on to the next step, which I appreciate for many people joining us today, that is considered to be university, because that's the traditional pathway. Hopefully, some of the information that's shared might give some food for thought, maybe get you thinking about exploring other opportunities. Again, that's just to highlight the different qualification levels. As Nadia said at the start of the webinar, we do understand right now there's a lot of uncertainty. Awarding bodies are working to turn around and put in place something that's going to make sure that everybody gets the most appropriate and fair grade possible. The thing to look at is that there is something for everybody. If things don't work out, it's not something that's going to derail you. It might just be something that you have to come and talk to someone at the college, look at and replan your progress forward rather than just automatically jumping in. But we start at level 3 in A-levels, really important as well. Vocational areas tend to be happy with 4 GCSEs, grade 4, C or above. For A-levels, it's slightly different demands, and you'll find those on the website. It's not a case that I could outline those all to you in this presentation, because it does actually vary depending upon the A-levels and the combinations that you're selecting. Okay, so again, if that's a question that you turn around and actually you know, want to put into the chat, or you want to speak to a particular tutor, then obviously you'll be able to do that. Okay, so I did turn around and say that the idea was that I was going to present some food for thought. So there's a number of different ways that you can undertake an A-level or A-levels at Oaklands College. Lots of people go to sixth form to do an A-level. One of the advantages of coming to an FE college is that you can do a little bit of mixing and matching. You've got the opportunity to turn around and work with not just A-level tutors that will obviously help you progress towards that goal of completing your A-levels and moving on to university, which would be the traditional route. You could also mix and match a little bit. So for example, you could select 2 A-levels and a vocational qual. So you might do something like biology, psychology, and applied science. You know, you could do law, ethics, and business. There's lots of opportunities to mix and match, and lots of the departments, the curriculum departments, are actually offering companion vocational now, so that you start exploring and thinking about the apprenticeship route. So the reason I mentioned the apprenticeship route, for students completing A-levels, you would be looking at an advanced or higher apprenticeship. If you get the higher apprenticeship, it's the equivalent of a degree. Your employer would pay for it, and actually you turn around and learn skills, you're developing, you're getting away. Lots and lots of great reasons to not just explore university. Nothing wrong with university, and we have lots and lots of students who progress through Oakland, very successful, go off to some of the most sought after institutes that obviously are offering the facilities. We do have Russell Group progression. The tutors will be able to talk to you a little bit more about that. I just wanted to make sure that I've mentioned and covered this so that if any questions come through, we can turn around and actually hopefully give you something to think about and talk to other people about, just so that you can turn around and get the very best opportunity to move forward. Okay, so what's going to happen now? You're going to hear from the actual tutors who teach the specialist subjects. They'll turn around and they will come on, they'll introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about it. It's an elevator speech, so it's not going to be War and Peace. It's just going to be a maximum of a minute, just to give you that quick overview, so you can actually decide whether you're English Lang, English Lit, or it's law, and it might just help with some questions. So I'm going to hand over to Viv, the A-level coordinator, who I believe is up first.
Thanks, Gary. Right, hi, I'm Viv. As Gary says, I'm the A-level coordinator. I also teach on EPQ, which I'm going to talk about later, and A-level English language. So A-level English language is all about how we communicate messages and ideas to people around us. So we look at things like language and power, how a politician might persuade us to vote for them, or persuade us round to their idea, their way of thinking, or how an advertiser might convince us to buy their product. We also look at language and gender and the theories surrounding how, the ideas of how men and women communicate differently, okay, which is a really interesting debate. At year 2, one of the key modules is language change. So how language has changed over the centuries, but it's not just about the words that we use, it's also about our values and changing attitudes and what we consider to be politically correct. Finally, another key module in the second year is children's language acquisition, where we consider ideas such as how children learn to speak, read and write. And this links to the whole idea of the nature versus nurture debate. So some people arguing that we as human beings are genetically hardwired to speak, to acquire language and develop language, and others saying, no, it's more about social input and nurture in our environment. And these sorts of ideas also link over to sociology and psychology, which Denise and Rachel are going to talk to you about a bit later. Okay, I'm going to hand over now to Gina for English Lit.
Hi, my name's Gina and I'm going to talk to you about the English Literature A-level. So it's a really diverse course. We look at a really wide range of texts. We cover novels, plays and poetry from the Shakespearean era all the way up to contemporary texts. At AS, you'll study Death of a Salesman, Othello, Great Gatsby, and a collection of tragic poems by John Keats. In your second year, Ian McEwan's Atonement, we'll look at Agatha Christie's Murder of Roger Ackroyd, and we'll look at Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Coleridge. In your second year, you'll also complete your coursework component, where you'll do a critical analysis of texts of your choice. If you're interested in literature, if you have a passion for exploring and discussing texts and thinking about the cultural and historical interpretations, and if you want to debate the extent to which writers are influenced by the society in which they live and vice versa, then English literature is the course for you. So I'm going to hand over now to James, who's going to speak to you a little bit about politics.
All right, thanks, Gina. Yeah, I'm James, and I teach government and politics. And politics is an excellent subject if you want to understand the world around you. So politics is the study of, who has power and how much power they have, who makes the rules and how those rules are made. And we also debate the big ideas in politics: human rights, the existence of the death penalty, socialism, capitalism, things like that. Other good thing about politics is it's a very hands-on subject. You can sort of get politically involved yourself. So we go on a trip with the law students every year to Parliament and the Supreme Court. Last year, in fact, we got to watch Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn head-to-head in Parliament. And the St Albans councillors came in as well and debated with us. Sometimes we go there to the local council and we do a youth takeover day. So like I say, it's a great subject in which not only to learn about politics, but to get involved in politics as well. It's very interesting, it's very challenging, and it opens a lot of doors. So that's politics. I'm now going to hand over to Adam, who's going to tell you about law.
Hello guys, my name's Adam Nichols. And so why study law? Well, reading law allows you to learn about people. Every single case you'll look at on the course involves a man or a woman on each side, and they've had catastrophes happen to them, or it could be something positive as well. And what you'll learn when you're reading law is not only about the legal principles, but if you have any humanity in you, you'll start thinking about the people involved in the cases. And when you do this, you reveal something of the human being you are to yourself. Reading law is a much wider subject than just learning a few rules or a few statutes. It is essentially about people, and that is what makes this a fascinating subject to study. I'm now going to hand over to Gina Penning to tell you about history.
Hiya. So the history A-level is split into two components. There's the Russian history and the British history. So for the Russian history, we start in 1855 under the reign of Alexander II, known as the Tsar Liberator, and we'll look at his various different reforms. We'll look at his father's reforms, Alexander III, and we'll go all the way up to Nicholas II in 1917, with the rise of the Bolshevik Party and the end of the Romanov rule. In the second year, we pick up where we left off, with the rule of the Bolshevik Party under Lenin. We'll look at Stalin and the various different atrocities that were committed during his reign. We look at World War II and the long and short-term impacts that had on Russia. And we finish up with looking at Khrushchev, the Cold War and the space race. So James is just going to take over and tell you a little bit about the British history side of the course.
Yep, thanks, Gina. So I also teach the British unit in history, and this is looking at Britain from World War II to basically the present day. So changing status as a world power, the loss of empire, the impact of immigration, how the country has changed, becoming a lot more modern and sometimes not becoming so modern. And I want to say that I really love teaching this topic because there is tons of source material out there. It's all over YouTube. There are loads of articles, and so much has changed in just a short 50 or 60 years. So it's a fascinating topic to look at. And if you do this, what you will understand is the country in which you live so much better. So that's the British History Unit. And I think up next is Anna Fairchild, who's going to talk to you about media.
Hi, I'm Anna Fairchild, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about media. So media is taught by a media specialist, and it's 30% coursework and 70% exam papers, split into paper 1 and paper 2. So the coursework, you get to design your own marketing material for a film of a chosen genre, and you agree it with your tutor, and then you get to design a DVD cover or poster, and you are aiming at a target audience or a certain age range, and you have to pitch your designs accordingly. Then there's paper 1 and paper 2, and you'll be looking at things like advertising and marketing in paper 1, music videos, newspapers. And what you'll be doing there is investigating media language and representation in those different sections. Section B will be looking at film, newspapers, and looking at the media industries and audiences. And then paper 2, you are looking at television, Life on Mars, magazines, Vogue, 1965, and online media, Zoella. And there you will be investigating media forms and products. The course will be a lot about watching things, having class discussions and debates about genre, target audience, and the media industry. And then you will be working towards your coursework component, which is your designs in the second year. I'm going to hand over now to Rachel, who's going to tell you a little bit about psychology.
Okay, hi. So many of you won't know anything about psychology. Psychology is a scientific study of mind. It is a social science, so it does require you to be good with GCSE maths, and you can't write your GCSE biology. I just want to get that out of the way first of all, because people tend to think that psychology is a debate about how we feel, but it's actually the scientific study of how we do that. And my job as your psychology teacher is to train you up to be a researcher. Anybody who's curious about how people think, feel and behave, why they might do so, how we could find out how they think, feel and behave, and the influences over us, psychology is a really fascinating subject. In the first year, we look at theories of human behaviour, and it's a bit of a history of psychology. So we look at the different approaches and how we can understand human beings from different perspectives. Some people are natural biologists, so they think that we are our biology, while other people would prefer to think that we're a product of our environment and that our parental upbringing shapes us. We then move on to the part of the course that most people are really interested in, and it's psychopathology. And here we study OCD, depression, and phobia. We look at the causes of these 3 common mental health conditions and how we can treat them. We also cover memory, how our memory works, why we forget things, and different types of memory that we have. We look at the reliability of eyewitness testimony and how people who witness crimes can be influenced by things like anxiety and leading questions. We look at social influence, so how we tend to do what other people do and how we're influenced by norms in society. We also look at the issue of social change and how we can get people to do different things. And that's really pertinent to what's happening at the moment with COVID-19 and social distancing. We look at the first relationship between a parent and a child and how that then shapes us in later relationships. And finally, probably the main theme that runs through the first year topics is this research and experiments into human behaviour. How do we find out what human beings are thinking and feeling? Because the mind is entirely private and subjective. And if we ask people what they're thinking and feeling, they may not be honest with us. We pick up on the approaches again in second year, and we look at 2 particularly controversial approaches, one by Freud and the other by Abraham Maslow, from the psychodynamic and humanistic approaches. We then have 3 option topics, and this year I taught schizophrenia, forensic psychology and gender identity development. Schizophrenia is a major mental health condition, and we spend some time exploring why people may develop the condition and how we can treat it. We then look at the development of gender identity and gender dysphoria, which is a topic in society at the moment that is very controversial, and we look at the psychological approach to it and how we can explain why people may feel like they are the wrong gender and how we develop a gender identity. We do philosophical debates in psychology, so we look at the nature-nurture debate and try to uncover whether or not we are shaped by our biology or whether it's our environment. Do we have free will, or are we determined by different factors such as our genes or the way in which we've been raised? Then we return to statistics, and this is where you have to be okay with doing maths. You don't need to be good, but you do need to have an open mind and be prepared to tackle some A-level statistics. And that's the course, okay? It's all exam-based. You sit 3 exams at the end of your second year, and that gives you your grade in A-level. And I think it's a really interesting subject if you want to be good at 2 things. One is writing and the other is science, because it brings those 2 topics together really nicely in the study of human behaviour. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to sociology and Denise.
Okay, hi guys. So I'm talking about sociology. I'm the sociology teacher, In sociology, we don't think about how we behave so much as, Rachel was saying, like psychology from the inside. We think about what affects us in our society, what affects us from the outside. So if I was sitting in front of you now and I asked you what you thought maybe had influenced your life, you might say your parents, you might say the amount of money you've got, you might say your skin colour or whether you're male or female. All of those things have an effect on our outcomes in life, and that's what we look at in sociology. So in the first year we look at education, and we look at why girls do better in exams than boys do in our education system. We look at why it's harder sometimes for people of a certain ethnicity to succeed and why that is. We look at why it's harder to succeed potentially if you're poorer, if you haven't got as much money as other people. So that's kind of the theme that runs through sociology. We talk about how those things outside us affect us, and it's out of our control in many ways. So we look at education, we look at the family, we look at crime, and then we finally look at global development, which is slightly different. But for those first three, we look at them from the perspective of ethnicity, of gender, ethnicity, gender, and class. So whether money helps, whether your skin colour helps, and whether your gender helps you in life. And we analyse all of that. So the only other one that we do to mention in year 2 is we do global development, and we're only 5% of educational establishments in the country that do global development. Most other classes, most other schools do beliefs. So I love doing global development. We look at Africa, India, all those developing countries, and we look at our relationship with them, wars, immigration, why people get in little rubber dinghies and come over to our country, what motivates them, and how it affects us to have those people living amongst us. So in essence, that is sociology. There's lots of other stuff as well to do with theory that you'll get to know when you start the course, but hopefully it's something that you'll feel will interest you. Okay, I'm passing on to Olu now. He's going to talk to you about biology.
Yeah, hello guys, how you doing? My name is Olu. I'm going to talk about biology. Biology is an exciting subject where we study about life and living organisms. I find it very particularly interesting because it talks about the way our body works, my body works. So it's a very interesting subject, how things look, organisms look, what they're able to do. So in the first year, we're going to study 4 units. So we talk about biological molecules. So I'm talking about proteins, carbohydrates. So we look at the structure of those molecules. We look at the functions of those molecules. These are things that we actually be able to relate to. And then we see how we interact with the environment, the exchange between organisms and the environment. We're also going to talk about genetic information. We talk about DNA, the structure of DNA. We talk about how traits are transferred from parents to the offspring through DNA. So when we get to year 2, we're also going to look at 4 units. So we talk about cellular respiration, how we generate energy that we need. We look at how your plants are able to make food, the relationship between us and the plants. We talk about all of that. We talk about genetics. So how do parents pass on characteristics or traits to their offspring? So why is it that you don't look exactly like that of mom? So we talk about things. So we try to kind of bring biology to life here at Oaklands College. And then we also talk about how we respond to changes in the environment. So we also going to do required practicals, about 12 practicals where we do hands-on. So you can actually look at stuff under the microscope and look at cells, different parts of cells. And then we also may be able to do some workshops where we go off campus and attend workshops. So that's biology for you in a nutshell. At this time, I'm going to pass over to Denise and James for religious studies. Thank you.
Right, hi again. I'm going to talk to you about RS. I teach one half of RS, which is the ethics side of it, and I share the class with James, who you've already met, and he teaches the philosophy side of it. So philosophy and ethics, which is what kind of we prefer to call it because that's what it is very much an analysis of well, in my case, our ethics and our morals. So we discuss things like euthanasia, like animal testing, like just wars, all kinds of things that we have to deal with every day. If you're in the medical profession and you're deciding who gets the ventilator and who doesn't in COVID-19, you have to have these moral debates and you have to decide if it's the old person or the young person or whatever, the person is more likely to succeed. So we discuss all of these things. And in ethics, we put them against three basically philosophical approaches of Aquinas, of Fletcher and Aristotle. So we look at natural moral law, we look at situation ethics, we look at virtue ethics, and we apply those three ethical theories to a huge variety of situations that happen to us. Suicide, euthanasia, all of those kind of things that happen in life. So it's very much a debating subject from my side of it. There's lots of debates and lots of kind of rational thinking and lots of debates about morals and things like that. Now, I'll also talk to you about James's side of it, which is the philosophy side of it. And James as well looks at philosophical arguments. So he looks at things like, can you prove the existence of God? How can you define evil? How can you prove that religious experiences are genuine? So he looks at it from a different set of philosophical arguments, but again, it's a very analytical a topic that's full of debate. Now, our optional topic in philosophy and ethics is Christianity, and it's the one that most people choose. I mean, we do have an option of Buddhism and lots of other things, but to be perfectly honest, the textbook pushes us towards Christianity. We've got most information about that. So we do a lot of investigation into the way Christians approach their lives, where they get their theology from, and basically how kind of different types of Christianity react to different situations. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know if James is free to add in if he wants to, but I'm assuming that he's quiet, so he doesn't want to.
Sorry, I didn't enable my microphone. Yeah, no, you explained everything really well there. Thank you, Denise. Nothing to add.
Okay, lovely. We'll pass back to Viv now, who's going to talk to you about EPQ.
Hello, Anna Fairchild, and I'm the photography tutor. And a couple of the great things about doing photography is, aside from the entry requirements to get onto the A-level programme, you don't need to have any experience of using cameras. One of the other great things is we've got all our own equipment, and you will be shown from the start how to use an old school analog camera where you put film in the back and you take photos. And we've got our own darkroom at Oaklands, which is fantastic. So you get into the darkroom during the first couple of weeks. We also use digital cameras to take photographs, and you'll be shown how to do that in our studio. And we also use, which you'll all be very pleased about, phones. So we use a variety of things to take photographs. As I said, we've got all our equipment at Oaklands. It's a practical course, so it's hands-on. You get to take photographs on your own in groups, process them in the dark room. It's a 90% coursework course, so you'll be building practical portfolios, which involves taking photographs, looking at how photographs and images are made and analysing them and breaking down the different components into what we call the formal elements, things like line, composition, the rule of thirds, and trying to understand how photographers and eventually yourself are able to make images which communicate ideas, concepts, a feeling, and that's what we call the expressive elements. So as I said, it's 90% coursework. There is a 15-hour exam section at the end of the second year where you will be making a piece of work under exam conditions, but you will have prepared for that in your portfolio. We also go on several trips during the year to galleries, museums, and other places of interest. The Dungeness coastline, we go to National Trust houses and gardens. If we're not able to do that, we've started recently doing virtual trips during this lockdown. So that's a really exciting adding to our course where we go on a virtual trip and take screenshots and work through development of photographic ideas. So we'll be doing trips one way or the other. So as I said, the key things are you don't need your own equipment. We've got everything for you to use at Oaklands, and that includes being able to borrow equipment so that you can go out on photo shoots at the weekends or in the half-term breaks. Okay, I think that's about it. I'm going to now hand over to Vivian to talk to you about the EPQ.
Thank you, Anna. Right, so back to me, we've gone full circle. We decided to leave EPQ to the last because it's something we tend to offer to our second year students as an added bonus, additional sort of qualification to add to their study programme. Okay, EPQ is Extended Project Qualification. It's a standalone qualification. It's equivalent to an AS, so in terms of UCAS points, it's equivalent to half an A-level. It is entirely coursework, so there are no exams at all for EPQ. So like other courses, it starts in September, but it finishes in April, okay, which is great because it means then you can focus entirely on your exams for your other subjects. And also another added bonus is if you are really organised, you can finish before April, and we have several students who do every year. Okay, there are 4 unit choices. Okay, so 4 different things you can choose from. The most popular tends to be the dissertation, so that's like writing a long essay. The second most popular I find tends to be the artifact. So if you're good at art and perhaps you're studying photography with Anna, you might choose to do that. The third option is a dramatic performance. So if you like drama, you might want to write and perform your own dramatic monologue, and we've had some great ones over the years. Finally, there's a scientific investigation. So obviously if you're a science student and maybe you're studying biology with Olu or psychology with Rachel, you might want to do some sort of scientific inquiry for your project. Now, what's really great about EPQ is that not only do you get to choose what type of project you want to do, but also you get to choose what subject, what topic you want to focus on. Okay, so lots of students tend to pick a topic that relates to their other A-level subjects or something they want to study further at university. But you might want to pick just something that interests you, something that's always fascinated you. Anything at all. I mean, there's anything that you really just want to find out more about, which is really great because not only do you get to study something that you love, but you also get a qualification for it. Okay, finally, universities love EPQ, okay, because it demonstrates students' ability for higher order thinking skills, research skills, independent working. You get to, you're showing that you can make your own choices and decisions about your work. Every year we get lots of high grades for EPQ, so lots of B's, A's and A stars. So it really is a fantastic choice to make. Okay, right, that's me done. Back to Gary.
Thank you, everybody. So the eagle-eyed amongst the audience will realise that nobody's spoken about maths. That's because the maths tutor is actually running classes right now. So we're still running online classes. We're still turning around and trying to make sure that everybody's getting prepped. And if they decided that they're going to take an exam later in the year, whatever the government decides, we're still ploughing on with that. So lots of great information from the team, lots of information in actual fact. So you may well have questions. If you've got questions, again, please type them into the chat. The marketing team are there. Somebody will make sure that question gets asked at the end. If you have a question that pops into your head after this is finished, you will also be directed on how you can send that question in, and somebody will be able to get back to you. So I'll move on now with the other parts of the presentation. So a little bit more about the study program. So you're not just an A-level student, you're a student at Oaklands College. Now the government turn around, and the way that they fund courses for anybody under 19 is they've got a thing called a study program, which got a range of elements, which you can see on the screen there. Now maths and English is included in this presentation because, as I said at the start, we do on occasion have students who are given an opportunity to pursue an A-level who don't have the grade 4s. They don't have the maths or the English. So those students have to continue working towards that. But the tutors, who you've all met most of them now, They try and do their best to make sure they wouldn't disadvantage someone just because of maths and English if they've actually got a talent or a real interest in any of the subjects that you've looked at. Some of them would not allow without the maths and English, and you can have that conversation with the tutor if you decided to pursue and go forward. Things like sociology is okay, psychology, it varies, but everybody has to keep working towards a grade 4 in maths and English if you join a college, any college, and you don't currently have that. Another big driver of the government, and actually it's really important, is the development of employability skills, work experience. One of the things that there's already been mentioned by the team is some of the visits, some of the activities they do. One thing that wasn't mentioned, which was a really interesting thing that I know happened last year, was sociology and psychology students combined, used their particular skill sets and worked on a project with Rothamsted Institute, so the research institute. So that was really, really good to see. That helped them get their work experience hours, and it's also developing their skills, helping them and helping you to decide if you've picked the right pathway, what else could you turn around and explore. And actually, work experience is not just about picking what you think you want to do. Sometimes you're not quite sure, and work experience can help you decide, have you picked the right pathway? Do you need to reconsider? College education is all about opportunity and choices. So by actually undertaking that, you're going to get those opportunities. Another element is personal development skills. Now, I've asked James just to give a little overview of this, because James, being the AP for advanced practitioner for personal development and review, I just asked him just to give a quick overview, just a 30 seconds, but it's basically where the tutors will make sure that you're getting a more holistic, so a more varied and life skills, not just, sociology or biology. James, would you like to say?
Yeah, thanks, Gary. That's right. Look, as Gary just said, you've got your 3 subjects or your A-level plus BTEC or whatever you choose, but then the PDR is kind of the everything else. So it's a combination of study skills. So that might be things like time management, or it might be note taking. And then the other stuff that we do is we will help you find your work experience. And you'll have a sit down one-to-one with your tutor on a sort of semi-regular basis, and we'll sort of talk through your progress. We'll help you with your work experience. And then there's the enrichment stuff as well. So that's all sorts of things to discussing ethical issues, what's going on in the news. For example, last year, well, it was actually this year, wasn't it? We discussed the London Bridge incident, but not just from a factual standpoint, but also how the media reports this stuff, the ethical implications, all that kind of stuff. And some really interesting discussion comes out of this. So PDR it's a really serious thing. It's quite a big thing, and it should be quite enjoyable as well.
Thanks, James. So, I mean, you've already heard from all the tutors. So this is just a little breakdown of what you might expect your lesson to be like. And it's not school. College is completely different. Anna's outlined where, she goes on some amazing trips. She's also incorporating now for the photography students virtual field trips. There's the visits by law down to the courts and actually engaging in, junior parliament or parliament takeover. Olu's expressed that there could well be not just the practical sessions in the science lab, because of course you're going to do that if you pick biology, but there's going to be opportunity for field trips and just exploring the sciences, actually the wider science, what's going on in the real world. So you're going to have some presentations, you're going to have some individual activities, group activities. You might even be combining and working across some of the A levels. I mentioned psychology and sociology. Again, you get lots and lots of support with this. The tutors are there to help you all along the way. The education, you're in control of it, but there's lots of guidance, lots of opportunities. Everybody wants you to do well. And I really know from having worked with the A-level team that they put in the extra mile. So there's extra sessions, extra support, extra prep, so that you are really ready and can actually have the best opportunity to get those higher grades, which obviously in A-levels is something that you will all aspire to. A college has got an amazing student support structure. So not only will the tutors support you, not only will the tutors go that extra mile, so you've got your personal tutor, as James has mentioned, They do the regular reviews, they're setting you targets, making sure everything's okay in terms of your academic study. You know, sometimes in life things go a little bit off the rail. Look at what's happening right now. You know, so we've got lots of student advisors that are talking to students, trying to say to them, listen, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We're going to do our very best to make sure that you turn around and get the grades that you need with Oaklands this year so that you can progress and move on to the next step. I'm sure that's exactly the same, and hopefully with the institutes that you're currently at. Financial support if you need it. So there's bursaries, there's the discounted travel schemes. So you've got the UNO buses. You turn around, and I don't know why my presentation has decided it's going to start auto progressing. And then you've got regular contact. We will talk to parents, carers. It is a case of we're all in this together to turn around and guarantee as best possible, because there are no guarantees, but to get you the best chance of getting the grades that you need and you aspire to. Again, a little bit about the work experience has already been mentioned, but there's a dedicated team of mentors, people that are actually working with lots of companies, looking at how they can integrate what we do as a college into how students can progress in and do something meaningful, something that engages you and gives you the opportunity to think, yes, this is definitely what I want to do, or maybe I'm not quite sure. Or it could be that you've got multiple facets to your A-level and you need to explore which one is it? Is it ethics? Is it philosophical? Is it, you know, what is it that you really want to focus in on? Again, I've just got to emphasize all students that are under 19 have to do work experience to start as part of your study program. I mean, I say you have to do it. It's actually probably the most interesting parts now that we're able to find and source good opportunities. There's also internships and other things that the actual employability mentors will help you with. So that's something that when you join the college or any college, you really want to explore what else you can get. It's called added value. You get more bang for your buck. Okay, so A-levels at Oaklands College, the students do very well. 94% will progress on, they'll carry on with their studies. Some students turn around and will decide that they want to now add, because if you're still young enough and you're funded by the government, you might add a BTEC. You might actually add one of the other many varied courses we do. Most A-level students, admittedly, will progress on to university. Lots and lots of first choice as well. And I'm hoping that as we continue to move forward, apprenticeships will be a bigger player in the choices that people will make, because I know, come from a vocational background myself, I know from experience that employers want bright, talented young people, but they don't want you in 3 or 4 years' time. They want you now, because the need for skills and the need for talented people in all different areas of industry is paramount. So when you come to the college, or when you're exploring any of the opportunities that you're looking at right now, don't rule out apprenticeships. It might not be something you thought about, but again, if you've got the grades, you could well be going in advanced higher apprenticeship. Okay, higher starts at level 4, so it doesn't have to be all the way up at level 6. Okay, so lots and lots of success stories. I'm going to turn around and invite some of the tutors now. This is an opportunity for them to turn around and share some of the successes that they've had with some of the students. And obviously, hopefully that will inspire you and think, yes, let's pick Oaklands, because Oaklands, they want me to do well. Okay, so James, do you want to, as soon as I can see your picture, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one particular example that springs to mind, we had a student who really struggled with his further education, and by the time he enrolled onto A-levels with us, it was his 3rd attempt to do A-levels. And then when he joined, he was really struggling, he had lots of personal struggles. And when he joined us, it was really nice to watch. He really flourished doing his A-levels. And by the time he got to the end of the course, he came away with 4 A stars, and he's now studying at Cambridge. So that was a huge success story for us. And that's one of a few students who've kind of been in that sort of situation. You know, there's an almost identical student a couple of years before him who was very, very similar story, really struggled to get into further education, came to us, and ended up going to Cambridge as well. So those are 2 that spring to mind. Really good examples.
Thanks, James. Anna, do you have anything you had someone to talk about?
Yes, we've had we have lots of great successes each year in photography, apart from the students that come as intensive students who they've already got 3 A levels and they come to do a 4th one with us and to top up their grades to go on to more prestigious universities to study anything from sports science to business management, and they study photography to get those points. This year we've had a student who came with us 2 years ago, and she'd been studying abroad in various countries, and it had been her teenage dream since she was 13 to go to a very prestigious London art school called Central St Martin's, and she's finally succeeded. She's been accepted this week to go there, and it's just her dream come true, really. So that's a great success for her. Yeah,
absolutely. And actually, you've mentioned something that I should point out as well, because we may have some people listening today who didn't realise that there's intensives offered to turn around and try and help people improve their grades. There are opportunities, so that might be something that we could have some people in the audience that could inspire a couple of questions. So we'll see later on. Thanks Anna. Denise, did you have someone that popped to mind when we were?
Hi, yeah, actually, it was a good introduction, Gary, because the person I'm going to talk about was an intensive student. Now, when we say intensive, we mean somebody who takes the AS and the A2 in 1 year, and that's usually somebody who's a little bit older. And this particular student had sat her A levels at school and come out with 3 grades that she wasn't really very happy with. She kind of lost self-confidence, so she came to us because she wanted to get to university. And I'm really pleased to say she came out with an A and a B, and she was well on her way with that to the university she wanted to get to. So Oaklands is not just for the 16-year-olds straight from school, although we are for that too. It's also for the people who maybe are a little bit older and want a second chance or a second go at getting to where they want to in life.
Excellent. Just before I move on, I don't want to miss anybody out in the team. Did anybody else in the team have anything they wanted to share with the audience? Any other? No? Okay. Right, so it's over to Nadia now. Nadia is going to turn around and take you through this slide, which is the next step, actually, after hearing all about the courses and opportunities at Oaklands.
Okay, thank you, Gary, and thank you for the team. Lots of useful information there. So you can apply for a course via our website, which is www.oaklands.ac.uk. If you need to talk to anyone about a course, find out a bit more, you can email info@oaklands.ac.uk or use our live chat functionality, which you'll find at the bottom right-hand screen of the website. You can apply for more than one course or A-level. You can, if you're not sure what you want to do at this stage, and you can decide when it comes to enrolment. Once you've applied, our admissions team will review your application and be in contact via email. So please remember to check your emails. Now, we know it is uncertain times with grades, but understand that you'll be collecting your results from school on the normal results day in August, in line with government guidelines. So we'll be in contact regarding enrolment in August once we've got a little bit more information from the government of the next steps, and we'll keep you informed between now and then of any updates. Once enrolled, your course will begin in September and we'll welcome you to the college. So in the meantime, to keep up to date with college news, please visit our website and follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Insta, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. Okay, and keep an eye on our website and don't forget to apply for your course. So I think we're now going to have a Q&A session. I know we've had a few questions in the chat function, but there's probably a couple of things that come up. Something that pops up is, do I have to have studied the subject at GCSE to take it at A-level?
Shall I answer that?
Thank you, Gary. Yes.
I mean, all I can do is someone is going to have to jump in for maybe some other subjects, but representing history, politics, and religious studies or philosophy and ethics, the answer is definitely no. You don't have to have studied those. I mean, I'm not sure if you can study politics at GCSE anyway, but certainly for my subjects, There's no need to have studied this, not even history. You don't even have, most people do study it at GCSE, I know, but there's no need to do that. I don't know if anyone wants to jump in for, and obviously for maths, you would need to have studied it.
So for photography as well, you don't need to have studied it. You don't either need to have got a GCSE in art and design necessarily. You have to have a keen interest in taking photos and be interested in the practical coursework element of it. But we teach everything from very ground zero in photography.
The same goes for psychology. Most people don't study psychology at school. What you need for psychology is a 6 in maths and double science, because it's a science-based subject. But most of the people who study psychology at A-level haven't studied it before at all. And in fact, it can be a bit of a disadvantage if you study at GCSE, because a lot of the material is repeated and students don't tend to do as well because they rest on their laurels. So in fact, as a non-psychology GCSE student, you have a bit of an advantage.
Okay, something that has come up before is if I do my first year at another school or college, can I transfer to Oaklands?
I don't mind taking that one. It depends on things like the exam boards, what subjects they are, whether you aren't transferable. So we would look at that, and we do have students who do transfer in their second year, but we want to talk to you about the specific subjects, what modules you've done, what exam boards you've studied, what grades you got, what happened, that sort of thing. So we would, individual subject teachers would talk to you about that. Okay, and all our email addresses for individual subject teachers are on PowerPoint, which is going to be sent out.
Okay, thank you, Viv. And I think we've had this in the chat, but maybe someone could reiterate it. How many days a week would someone be at college?
It really depends on what subjects you're doing, where the grids fall. You're probably not going to be in Monday to Friday. That's unlikely on 3 subjects, but 3 to 4 days probably. But it just depends on the timetables and where the lessons are.
Okay, and another question that's popped up is, can you do an A-level at college and another A-level at school?
That's a tricky one because it can be a funding issue, but we'd look at it. We have had students do that. Okay, but we'd have to look at it. We'd have to look into it.
And linked to that, do you have to take 3 A-levels?
Yes, really, to make you a full-time student for funding purposes, you need 3, or the equivalent in terms of A-level and BTEC combination, but it's the equivalent of 3 A-levels. It is a funding thing, so yes, you need to do 3.
But that's only for, it's not for intensive students. So if you're an intensive student, you wouldn't be expected to take 3 intensive A-levels.
Yeah.
It's also the case that it's age dependent. So if somebody was 19 plus, they wouldn't have to do a study program. So the 3 A-levels or equivalent is because that's what's required to meet the conditions of funding with the government. But if somebody was over 19, if somebody's repeating, so they're really there are options depending upon your factors.
Okay, thank you. And one final question, I think, from a student. Are A-levels on their own enough to apply to university?
Yes.
Yes,
yeah.
definitely.
Yes. If you get 3 A-levels or even 2.5, yeah, that's your way into university, just like a level 3 BTEC or Access. Yes.
I think the thing to kind of state, just to be really clear, is that actually 3 A-levels is favoured by many of the top universities over some of the combinations that you might select where you combine the BTEC. So the 3 A-levels with the right grades will get you the opportunities with not just the local universities, but the Russell Group universities, so some of the higher institutes that you've heard mentioned today.
Thank you. Does anybody want to add anything else?
I mean, I'll just end by saying, if nobody else has got anything, that, you know, thanks for the people that have come along today to listen to this, and hopefully the information has been useful. It's probably a lot of information, but you know, you can play this back again once it's uploaded. And I'd say to the people that couldn't make it along, because I know this is going to be sent out, that, you know, the emails are in the PowerPoint that's going to come along with this. All the tutors are there, you know, they're eager to help, and the college has got a wonderful team of advisors who would be able to help if you decided that, you know, A levels is not for you. So that's probably all I would add. Anybody else?
Okay, Gary, thank you. I think we'll wrap it up there. Just to confirm that a recording of this webinar will be available on our website shortly. And for anybody that signed up, you will get an email with all the relevant links so you can review it at your leisure. Thank you, everybody.